Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down exactly how the Change Architect Academy, or TCAA, structures its capacity building to ensure teams don't just learn, but actually prove their competence. You know, if you work in the NGO or humanitarian space, you've probably seen it a million times, training that just kind of stops at theory. Well, we're exploring a radically different approach today, one that demands visible, testable proof of practice. And that brings us to a really core problem. Passive learning, it simply isn't enough anymore. We need practical skills that actually help people in crisis. But we absolutely cannot afford training that just adds a ton of administrative paperwork. Striking that balance between rigorous learning and operational agility is incredibly hard. But as you're going to see, the Academy has engineered a specific methodology to solve this exact issue. So here is our agenda for today. We're going to start with the learning model, move into producing auditable work, then responsible AI, field evidence, organization integrity, and finally wrap up with the qualification boundary.
Okay, section 1, the learning model, public versus credentialed.
Now, this is crucial for understanding how individuals and organization cohorts actually access the Academy. There are 3 distinct pathways. First up, we've got the free membership. This gets you basic templates, free TCA checks, and public research. Super accessible. Then there's the paid individual membership, which unlocks broader resource access and priority service requests. But if you need formal verification, you'll step into the level 2 or 3 professional training. This managed track is rigorous. We're talking human review, tutor support, practical assignments, and verified certificates operating under strict governance.
The platform actually makes this boundary crystal clear right from the course page. Open content is strictly separated from that paid professional track we just talked about. It explicitly tells users that while the learning materials are transparent and open, the final assessment drafts and certificate issuances remain under really strict operational control. Basically, you can't just click through a few videos to get certified here. You really have to earn it.
Moving right along to section 2, producing auditable work, the sequence.
So every single course in the Academy follows a very specific structured sequence. It moves from initial orientation all the way through to producing auditable work products. Learners don't just read about concepts, right? They practice decision-making, they build real evidence files, they undergo visible assessment, and finally institutional review. It's a complete life cycle, purposely designed to mimic the actual intense pressures of humanitarian work. Take a look at this. During the AI Workflow Clinic, learners are guided to frame a decision, assign roles, and run reversible pilots. That means they're generating real-world evidence, not just filling out multiple-choice answers. If you're doing the clinic, you're actively mapping out your current work, assigning human authority, and testing failure modes before you ever make a final decision to adopt or pause a new tool. You literally leave the training with an actual implementation plan in hand.
All right, section 3, responsible AI, digital practice.
Let's look at the AI portfolio. It covers everything from basic literacy to complex grants and meal. That's monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning workflows. And it always demands a practical, reviewable output. You aren't just learning what a prompt is. For example, in the data protection course, your output is a tangible incident response log for things like accidental data leaks. For grants, it's a proposal decision file. The output is always tied directly to a real-world NGO deliverable. And before anyone ever touches sensitive field notes, there's a free self-check feature that allows users to safely test their understanding of data boundaries. The quiz asks foundational questions, like, what is the safest first step before using a public AI tool? This ensures a solid baseline of literacy is achieved, basically preventing dangerous mistakes before they can happen in the field. This really hits the nail on the head. Across all these AI modules, the ultimate goal is to cultivate critical human accountability rather than just technical software skills. I mean, tools will change, buttons are going to move around, but the judgment required to maintain privacy boundaries, verify AI-generated claims, and protect vulnerable populations, that is exactly what this training focuses on building. Which brings us to section 4, field evidence, program quality. This specific group of courses equips field staff with the discipline to design rapid assessments, verify data, and configure safe mobile data collection tools like Kobo Toolbox. They teach teams how to review what data already exists, because no one wants survey fatigue, map out safe consent routes, and run daily quality checks. The goal is to spot outliers or duplicates way before bad data infects your program reporting. I love this quote because it highlights a deeply pragmatic philosophy. Theoretical monitoring frameworks are entirely useless if they fail in actual crises. Think about it. A beautifully designed logical framework means absolutely nothing if your field enumerators can't safely or practically collect the data under pressure. The Academy focuses on indicators and methods that actually work, in the mud and the chaos of the real world. Notice how the training forces learners to start with the operational decision they need to make, rather than just blindly jumping into building a random questionnaire. The very first step is defining what decision the assessment must support, and what must be known right now versus later. It's a highly disciplined approach. It stops teams from gathering useless data and keeps them laser-focused on actionable, life-saving findings. Next up, Section 5, Organization Integrity, Readiness. By completing these modules, local organizations really prepare themselves for rigorous due diligence and donor scrutiny. We're talking about covering critical, foundational elements like protection from sexual exploitation and abuse, or PSEA, as well as making sure a local NGO's public profile and partner readiness claims are totally accurate and verifiable, without overpromising. There's also a massive emphasis on skill here. TCAA teaches control principles that are specifically tailored for small NGOs, completely avoiding complex corporate bureaucracy. A massive international charity might have a 50-person finance department, right? But a local NGO might just have 2 people. This module teaches them how to effectively separate duties, track exceptions, and maintain financial integrity with the actual team size they have. So instead of vague theory, participants must walk away with actionable tools, things like exception logs and segregation of duties plans that are immediately ready for an auditor. When you finish the safeguarding course, you don't just leave with generic awareness, you leave with an actionable readiness checklist covering reporting routes, partner duties, and confidential storage that you can literally implement on day 1. Okay, our final section, Section 6, the qualification boundary, strict limits. To maintain absolute trust, the Academy openly declares that taking a course is professional development. It is not a substitute for formal legal, financial, or donor audits. A certificate in donor readiness does not guarantee you're going to win a grant. A course in financial controls definitely does not replace a certified public accountant. The Academy forces learners to understand the precise limits of their training. This philosophy translates directly into action by teaching organizations how to present their public profiles honestly without overclaiming their verified status. It trains organizations to clearly separate what is self-declared from what has been independently reviewed or source verified. This prevents NGOs from accidentally misleading donors and ensures that their public identities are resilient, transparent, and fully defensible. I want to leave you with this final thought to consider. As humanitarian needs continue to grow, in a sector where lives are quite literally on the line, shouldn't all our capacity building be anchored in visible, testable proof of practice? Passive consumption of information is just no longer enough. By forcing teams to produce auditable work, whether that's through a free membership pathway or a managed professional-level training, the Change Architect Academy is setting a new standard where learning actually translates into life-saving operational reality.